This is TB Talks and BS Walks. Join the conversation or the BS. Here are the masterminds behind the microphone, Tyler and Brian.
Welcome, everybody, to TB Talks and BS Walks. I'm Tyler. As always, with me is my co-host, Brian. Today, a fantastic show lined up for you guys. We have a special guest on the show, and he is the man behind the opening of our show, the little audio snippet that you hear at the beginning of every show. Rod Kittleman is in the house. Rod, how's it going, man?
Going pretty good. Got a little bit of sunshine today and some warmer temperatures, so can't complain about that.
Hey,
yes, sir.
That is always good. Brian, what's the weather like in New Mexico today?
For the first day in like 2 weeks, we're up to about 60 degrees. It's kind of nice.
Well, there you go. It's about 58 here. A little bit of wind, but not bad. So we wanted to bring Rod on the show today. For those of you that may not know, now Rod, correct me if I'm wrong, but Rod is the longest running morning radio show host in the state. Is that correct? Rod, is that?
I don't know about the state, but I would say in Springfield, Missouri, and I would say the state's probably a pretty good bet as well, but I've been doing radio for 40 years.
40 years. And you can catch Rod on KADI 99 Hit FM, and you do the morning show. What is that, 5:30, 6:30 to 10? What are your hours?
We do the Fun of the Morning show from 6 to 10 on 99.5 KADI.
40 years. That's longer than I've been alive.
Started thing in 1978.
1978. Well, so if you guys are in the listening area, be sure to tune in and catch Rod weekday mornings. It's a good time. Rod is also a fantastic musician. We have shared the stage on numerous occasions. He's a fantastic keyboard player and does all kinds of things. So he started radio 40 years ago, and we decided to do this podcast. We have no idea what we're doing, but I've always wanted to find that out to try to get into radio. And most of the time you have to intern somewhere, and it's just kind of it's a little difficult to get into. And then I know up and coming, there's not much money in it, especially if you're trying to intern. So I thought, well, why not start social media, and we'll take Twitter and we'll take the Facebook, and we'll see if we can't get a podcast rolling. I don't even know what number episode is this, Brian. Do you know? Or are you keeping tabs?
I think we're on 13 now.
13, okay.
I'll have to double check.
Lucky number 13. Our Twitter is group.
So are you making more money doing the podcast than you would be interning at a radio station?
Well, I don't think we're making any money on the podcast yet. So that's a fair bet to say no.
Yeah.
But now, Winter Jam was this past weekend or this past week. Now, were you involved in that as well? I know you normally do that.
Yeah, the radio station was involved in it. We presented Winter Jam. Unfortunately, because of health issues, it was probably the first year I've had to not be there. Going to try to get this kidney transplant, you got to stay. It's kind of an oxymoron. To have a kidney transplant, you have to be healthy. So,
Right.
You don't want to get the flu. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to get anything that would cause you to keep you from getting listed for a kidney transplant. So, I'm trying to stay away from people as much as possible. In my business, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
But you got 9,000 people there in a concert venue. It's very easy to catch something from somebody, and
Well, and I know too, Missouri is like one of the states that has the widespread outbreak of the flu right now. I think it's already killed like 30 some kids or something like that. I mean, it's been pretty intense. So yeah, I totally understand that, which I kind of wanted to talk to you about that too. Do you have some kind of first of all, I guess let's go back and take us through. You've been on dialysis now for. I mean, how long have you been doing that?
No, dialysis for 8 years.
8 years. So, and what were you diagnosed with? Like, I mean, kind of take us through your process, and then kind of tell people, because I know you have a donation page set up to where people can kind of donate to help you along this journey, if I'm not mistaken. So, kind of take us through. I mean, from your diagnosis, and then kind of what you're going through, and the process, and all those things.
Well, diabetes runs in my family. High blood pressure runs in my family, and so does kidney disease.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing leads to another. They're all associated. If you're ever diagnosed with diabetes or high blood pressure, then just be warned that kidney failure is a possibility. They always say, well, you can lose a limb, you can lose, this and that. That's true, but kidney failure is one of the big things that diabetics have to deal with. For whatever reason, you don't hear that much about it. You hear about stroke, you hear about blindness. Those things are real, but kidney failure is another thing. And it runs in my family. And about 8 years ago, I came down with pneumonia. And prior to that happening, my doctors were saying, your kidneys are failing. They're not pulling the job like they should, and we need to keep an eye on you.
Mm.
So we were, doing that, and then I came down with pneumonia. Well, the pneumonia basically caused my kidneys to fail. That was threw them over the cliff. So
how long have you been in the process of? I mean, how long have you been in the process of trying to get a transplant? I mean, is this something that recently you got on a waiting list, or have you been on a waiting list for some time?
No. What happened was, as soon as I went on dialysis, my daughter wanted to donate a kidney to me. So she went and got tested to see if she would be a match. And then I had to go through a bunch of tests to see that I would be eligible to accept a kidney donation. So we went through all the tests together, took about a year, and we got down to the last test, and they said you cannot be a donor because we found kidney stones. So my daughter was kicked out of the donor process and was not allowed to be a donor ever because of kidney stones. And it was devastating for her because that's what she wanted to do.
Sure.
It was kind of a half, kind of I would say I was relieved that she couldn't be a donor, because I mean, she was putting her life on the line for her dad. I mean, that's pretty hard, and for me, it's like, what if, the kidney, my body rejects her kidney, therefore she has given a kidney, sacrificed a kidney for me.
Mm-hmm.
She has put her life at risk. She has sacrificed the possibility of having any kids by becoming a kidney donor.
And then your body rejects it, so it was all for nothing.
It was all for nothing, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a relief that she was rejected. Therefore, I didn't have to say no to the gift that she wanted to give me.
Yeah.
So at the end of that year of trying to get this all done, I just decided, forget it. I'm not going to have a kidney transplant. I'm going to just stay on doing dialysis. We've got it figured out, the process of how to do. And so I just continued on doing the dialysis process. We were able to, during the process of the last 8 years, do the dialysis at home, which kept me away from the clinic and everybody else in the clinic. And I just do it at home, and my wife's my caregiver. And that, my friends, has been life-changing if you're on dialysis. If you have the opportunity to do dialysis at home, that's the way to do it.
Now, I know that I know that you and I have talked before, and haven't you actually ran, maybe not actually ran the morning show, but ran an interview like while you're hooked up to the machine? I mean, they're at your house. You know, I mean, I can imagine you've probably done some radio work, live on the air while you're hooked up to the machine at home.
I've done radio in a hospital bed. I've done radio at Disney. I've done radio everywhere, including
rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Ron Kittleman will prevail.
There you go.
Technology is awesome, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So your wife has been your caregiver, and you're doing that at home,
Right.
And then I guess you kind of kept pushing, and then you saw a light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, regarding to the transplant.
Well, what happened was, I mean, we've been going on 8 years, and it's a sacrifice for my wife because she has to be here. We do dialysis every other night, so that means it takes about 4 hours to do the treatment every night or every other. So, and she has to be here with me when we do it. So, I mean, she's sacrificing her time away from doing things to be with me, and she says, she goes, I hate to see you being tied to a machine every other night because I mean it makes it hard for me to travel. It has cramped my style for being a musician and going out and playing on weekends or being gone very long because I have to find a dialysis machine.
Right.
Now I can take a machine with me. It's portable enough, but it's still a pretty big hassle to do it. So it's a lot easier just to do nothing than to try to go and take the machine with you or do dialysis on the road.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm a professional musician, and it has put a cramp in my style. And she said, I hate to see you do this. She goes, are you going to, the rest of your life is going to be this way? She goes, you need to have a transplant. And she says, I'm going to she goes, I want to be a donor. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Just like my daughter,
right.
Sacrificing them for me. I'd rather just die.
Wow.
And she goes, I want to try to be a donor for you. And and all the tests that I did 8 years ago are now null and void because it's been so long ago. So I have to go through the rigorous testing again. That's your process.
Right. Yeah.
And so she said, you get tested. And she goes, you promise. She goes, I want to try to be a match for you. And she goes, I'm going to lose some weight. I want to lose 50 pounds. And if I lose 50 pounds, you have to promise me you go to see if you can be a kidney transplant, transplant. I said, all right, you're on. I laughed at her. I was like, there's no way. There's no way she's going to lose 50 pounds.
Right. Yeah.
Blow the hole she did. She went on weight.
She had to eat those words, yeah.
I made a promise. I was, all right, let's go and see what happens. So we called, I think it was Tulsa. We heard they had a good kidney program, and we went up there, to get tested. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind that all these programs, all these kidney transplant hospitals, have certain requirements of the recipient that they have to go through before they even consider them to give them a kidney. And Tulsa said I was too fat. My BMI was too high for their requirements.
Oh, how nice.
Which really made me mad because I just, had been losing weight. I lost like 40 pounds over the last year, and I was still too fat for them. So I said, well, fine, I'm going to call KU, see what they say. So I called KU, and I was just right. That was no problem. So we went up there to KU, and they evaluated me and looked at me, and the doctor said, how long have you been doing dialysis? And I said, about 7 years. He goes, I would have never known by looking at you, or seeing you, or talking to you that you are a kidney patient. He says, you don't look like it. You don't act like it.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's good,
Right.
So he goes, I think you would be a great candidate for a kidney transplant, but you have to go and do some tests. We want to make sure that your body of receiving another kidney from somebody else.
Mm.
We need to make sure that your heart is strong. We need to make sure that there's no other issues in your body that would prevent you from having a kidney, including making sure that your teeth are nice and good.
Okay.
So
Wait. The teeth, like the teeth in your mouth, have an effect on a kidney transplant.
Yes.
I did not know that. That's weird.
Like I said, you have to be, the oxymoron is you have to be healthy to get a kidney.
Wow.
Takes everything in you sitting with the doctor. If I was healthy, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So people don't realize that getting a transplant organ, that they don't want it. Like I said, they want to make sure that your body is strong enough, doesn't have any other diseases or any other infections or any other thing that would, because when you get another organ, they feed you all this immune suppressant drug, so that your body won't reject the other organ.
Yeah.
And it's very easy when they give you these other drugs to suppress your immune system, that, you know, if you've got any cancers, if you've got any open wounds, if you've got any cavities that infection can get in, anything, any heart problems, if your heart's not strong enough, your body rejects the kidney, and then the kidney that somebody sacrificed is gone to waste.
Yep.
Or you die. One of the two. You know.
Either way, that no bueno.
Yeah.
Either
Right.
way.
So anyway, so they have had me going through all these grueling tests to go through, make sure that my body was ready and fit to accept somebody else's kidney. Once that happens, then they put you on the list for a kidney donation. So since September, I have been, well, actually since July, I have been going through all these tests and sending back reports to KU to show that I'm fit to have a kidney. So far, so good. I have I got to the very end of all the tests and everything looked good, and then they found a wound on my foot, a diabetic wound that won't heal properly, and I have to get that healed before they'll even consider me.
Oh,
jeez.
Right there at the cusp.
So now, do you have, I guess at that point, is there going to be some place to where, people can go to donate to help pay for that? I mean, if it all goes through and you're approved and you get put on the list.
There is a organization that KU told me to call because of the expense, not only because of the preliminary medical stuff that has to happen prior to kidney transplant and getting listed, but after transplant, there's still a lot, and I mean a lot of expense.
Sure.
To help cover costs of doctors, travel, accommodations, drugs. I have one drug that would cost $2,000 out of pocket after insurance per month for 6 months.
Wow.
So they're talking about $60,000 a year just in expenses after transplant.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, Medicare pays for kidney transplants. Once you become a kidney patient, you're automatically put on Medicare. And if you're not, you need to check into it because it's a government law.
Oh, wow.
So that takes care of that. But the added expenses of post-transplant are still there, of at least a minimum of $60,000 a year.
And that's just to keep everything on the up and up once the process is completed.
Right, pay for the drugs, pay for the extra medical care, everything. There's an organization that's been around for 35 years called transplants.org. They're based out of Memphis. And they help raise funds for transplants of all kinds, whether it be kidney, liver, heart, lung, whatever. They help transplant recipients raise the funds to help cover all the costs, because typically most transplant patients have the same amount of cost because of all the drugs and medical care that has to happen.
Right.
So it is an organization. They have helped me already with the money that's come in that people have donated, have helped cover. I mean, I had 2 dental crowns put in at $1,000 a piece. So it was about a $2,500 dental bill that was out of my pocket. That folks who gave to the transplant.org helped pay for.
Okay.
Brian, why don't you copy that link?
I already have it down.
Put that down in the description for when they go to YouTube or Facebook to any form that you guys are listening to the show. If you guys take 5 minutes out of your time to go to that link and donate, I know Brian and I will certainly donate. And as you guys can tell, this money is well spent. So if you guys feel like donating, we're going to post that link, and you guys are welcome. We encourage you guys to go make a donation. And
now, does this
Rod,
go on an individual basis? Do we need your name, or do they just donate to the organization itself? And
no, you have to put my name in. There's a search bar there, and it says search for patient or client, and put in my name, Rod, R-O-D, last name Kittleman, Kittleman, and then it'll bring up my picture, and you'll see my story.
Gotcha.
And then a
All
button push to donate.
Well, that is
Appreciate
I would hope that you keep us posted on your journey as well. I know
Yes.
I know you your Facebook and stuff, you kind of post some updates and things like that, but we're rooting for you and definitely want to see how this turns out, and please keep us posted on that. And like I said, we'll post the info on our page, and that way listeners have a chance to go do that and make a donation. My dad actually only has one kidney. He had Hodgkin's disease when he was 20. So over 25 years ago. And the chemotherapy that he went on just destroyed one of his kidneys. He never had a transplant. He's never had any further complications, but he has just been operating on one kidney for the last 25 years. But that's I did not know that that it took that much to get even on the list. I think that's a behind the scenes thing that people don't realize, that what kind of job it is and all the testing you have to go through. And I think it's pretty cool that obviously your family is so supporting and wanting to be a donor for you, and God is great, and I'm sure that everything will work out.
Sure.
So yeah, please keep us posted on your journey.